Great. We are live now with Ashutosh from the Aam Aadmi Party. He's certainly a man who doesn't need an introduction, but here goes. As many of you know, he's been an editor for over 8 years, and then he fought the Lok Sabha elections. He's seen it all in terms of covering politics and being in the thick of action as well. He's one of the best known faces in India in Hindi journalism. He began his career as a journalist in print media and then went on to being part of the team that originally created Aaj Tak and in many ways, revolutionized the TV news. He was then editor of IBN7, from where he quit to become a political activist. Ashutosh is the author of two books. The first one, Anna 13 Days That Awakened India, which was published in 2012. And then the one we are discussing today, The Crown Prince, The Gladiator, and The Hope, which was published earlier this year. Ashutosh, welcome to LitFestx. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
It's indeed an interesting time for a writer and an author, and also a politician, to be writing a book on elections, on politics, and having seen it from both ends that you have. So tell us a little bit, more about the title, the choice of it, and what is the basic premise.
See, it's a very interesting that I was just thinking about that how to explain the principal characters of the book, like Mr. Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, and Arvind Kejriwal, because all three represent three different kind of socialist streams. And because I was also aware of the fact that Mr. Narendra Modi was at once a villain, and then he suddenly turned into a hero, an all India hero, an iconic figure he became. And then there was a Rahul Gandhi, was a crown prince who had nothing to lose, and everybody knew that even if he lose the election 2010, he will continue to be the leader of the party, which he was leading at that point in time under the shadow of Sonia Gandhi, her mother. And then Arvind Kejriwal, a new party, aspirational, and looks to be a hope for the future. But it's different for Narendra Modi for the simple reason, because he had as many friends, as many enemies. So he knows very well that he's a polarizing figure. He carries an image which is divisive. So this is the best chance available. This was the best chance available for him. So he had to make every effort to win this battle. It's like Gladiator going into the stadium, knowing fully well that if he loses, he has to die. And if he wins, he will be the hero. So he has to fight that battle from that instinct. That's why I said, if more 2014 elections, probably his political career would have been very, very different. But Rahul Gandhi could have remained the same, even if I had won, or even if he has lost, he's still active. From that point of view, I wrote, because figure somebody who has as many enemies as friends. For him, it was important to win that battle come what may. And that's what he did. And that's what the 2014 election is all about.
So, very interestingly, you mentioned that, the Gladiator was our current Prime Minister. The Crown Prince was, like you said, the de facto, in a way, leader of the reigning political party at that time. And the hope was, the leader of Aam Aadmi Party, Mr. Kejriwal. But having, spoken about the story of 2014 and now where we are today, where do you see that transition has moved to?
See, frankly speaking, if you see the last two chapters and the undercurrent, the subtext of the book, somewhere it also mentions, somewhere it refers that Narendra Modi's victory probably would not be as good news as a few of my peers and a few of the political experts and the pundits used to think. And I proved right, if you see last 1.5 years. Uh, I will not say, because I don't want to use the harsh word, but the fact is, the fascist forces are on the rise, the communal forces on the rise, the divisive forces on the rise, the promises to make India a 21st century superpower, the promises to make India as a Vishwaguru, that is not happening. What is happening is that in this country, in the last 1.5 years, if you see those people who have disagreed with the regime, they are being targeted openly by violent means. People are killed because somebody doesn't like a person concerned eating habits. Somebody is being targeted, and like Kalburgi, like Pansare, this has never happened in India. And if we are taking lessons from Pakistan and Bangladesh, where the bloggers are killed in the daylight, or in Pakistan, where anything against the religion becomes a blasphemous, and you are celebrating the killings, I think unfortunately we see those trends happening, and that's a sad part. And that's why I have been saying this, that RSS idea of India and India's idea of India, these are the two different narratives. Today, the idea of India is at stake. Idea of India is the modern, liberal, democratic with a scientific temper, talking about the diversity, respecting the value of coexistence, which is at rest. Today, and many of the politicians and many of the political activists and the political pundits, they are scared to utter a word which is contrary to or disagrees with the present regime. That's a sad part. India has never seen something like this. When you see the great tradition, the Shastra tradition, the Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan tradition, where people love to talk and engage in discussion without bothering about their physical existence. Unfortunately, that's happening right now.
Well, I mean, do you really believe that to be entirely true? I mean, the fact that you know we can publish such a book, it is freely sold, purchased. The fact that you and I are discussing it, and it's not on national television. We are discussing it on the World Wide Web, where it'll be this conversation will be available for the world to see, and we are both doing it from on Indian soil. I mean, I'm not sure. It would be absolutely right to say that one can't talk anything contrarian to the government or the administration, etc. I'm not sure that's entirely true.
See, I respect your viewpoints, but see, we also have to try to understand what is happening right now. What was the reason that the Kalburgi was killed in the daylight? What was the reason that Pansare was killed? Because somebody did not like what they said. This had never been the India's history. We had a history of communal riots with the two communities fighting each other and leading to killings of many. Those were incidents. But today I see a pattern. Akhlaq is killed in the Dadri because somebody doesn't like his eating habit. So still call them as a stray incidents. But if you see the people sitting in the government, the people sitting in the main political party justifying these acts, and the government not doing anything. It is a sad that the Prime Minister of India took 10 days about Dadri incident when the President of India had made a. So for 10 days, if Prime Minister took time to speak out, that means there is something seriously wrong. And if it takes 3 days for a chief minister to go to the Ballabgarh and try to console the family, and still talking about these are just local issues, when it looks like atrocity against Dalit. So it is not the killings. What is happening? It is the justification of these killings by the ruling regime. That is more disturbing. I had not seen a cabinet minister like Mr. V.K. Singh saying something about the Ballabgarh. Rijiju is talking about the North Indians. Mahesh Sharma, Sanjeev Balyan, and a whole lot of BJP MLAs and MPs and other so-called fringe elements. So if they become so robust, if they become so open, they become so aggressive, certainly the future doesn't seem to be so bright.
So, I should just steering back this discussion to the book and the specific contents in it. You've also, given a lot of details of your own journey on how you fought the 2014 elections and, what it really takes to fight an election, more so in India. Tell us a little bit about that and what you covered in the book.
See, it was a very, very interesting and intriguing journey personally for me. For one basic fundamental reason is that I never thought that I will be in politics someday. And frankly speaking, I had always hated politics from the bottom of my heart. So when I saw this movement in India against corruption coming up, then I thought there is some hope. Hope not because of the principal characters of the movement, but hope because of people's outpouring. People coming out on the streets, people without any political organization, without any political infrastructure, without any political wherewithal. So people were coming on their own, the spontaneous outpouring of the people to support that movement. It is then it caught my imagination that the country is changing. And this is the moment when we can that I can make some contribution for the betterment of the country. And this was also a difficult time for me for the simple reason because I was heading an organization and I was at the summit of my career. So to take a jump from the summit of a career which you always loved and liked to to into a darkness and into the politics which I had never liked, it was a momentous decision for me. But with the support of my family, and I think I could take that decision. And today, I must say that I'm thoroughly enjoying. I feel that whatever I used to talk about, to write about, to observe, to analyze, today I'm into the thick of the things. So I'm observing country at the much more micro level, and it has been a very, very exhilarating journey for me personally.
Tell me, when you gave this entire account of your entire journey within the election sort of period, the phase, campaigning, all of that. Did you ever imagine that that's what it was going to take, or were you prepared for such a journey? In terms of the hours, in terms of the grit, in terms of sort of being out there so many hours a day, campaigning, connecting with people, etc. Because all throughout your career, you've connected to people, but it's been either with the power of your pen or with the power of your voice, in a studio. But this was different.
See, I don't know how should I say this, but I have a knack of jumping into the darkness. When my father wanted me to doctor and the IAS officer, then suddenly I just left that behind and jumped into journalism, and I had no clue what the journalism was all about. I was just interested in writing, so I jumped into a completely non-glamorous profession in 1990. And then everything was going all right into the print media. Suddenly I jumped into the television, and I had no idea. Frankly speaking, I had never ever before in front of the cameras, and I took a jump. When I was doing very well in journalism, print media, I was at the summit of my career. I took a jump. So I don't know whether this is good, bad, or ugly, whatever. But when I jumped into the politics, I had no plans at all. I just thought that this is something which is good, and I should make my contribution. That's why I jumped. And but one thing which has been very good for me during my campaigning time, that it was a surreal, no doubt about it, but also I discovered a new India. I had never known, because I being somebody who's a non-believer, I had never known that the religion is so predominant in people's life, in the private space as well in the public space. Like every nook and corner during the Dashara, during Durga Puja, during other areas, you'll see big pandals coming up. And that's the beauty of this country, because it's not religious, it's basically cultural. And so this is this cultural richness which binds everybody. People get together, people get to know each other, people understand each other. That was something which was an eye-opening for me. And then I had also seen the naked poverty in Delhi, because Delhi being capital of this country and everybody thinks that Delhi is so good. But I had visited those part of the Delhi which I would have never visited being a journalist as an editor. And there I could see how people are living in the most inhuman conditions. And still being Delhi being still so developed, still development has not reached within few kilometers of its vicinity. So those were very frightening as well as eye-opening discovery for me. And I had also discovered that in the Chandni Chowk area, what gave me what made me so happy about it, that in the one road, you start from the Lal Killa and end at the Fatehpuri Jama Masjid, and you will see four religions sitting side by side. One is, you start with the Uma Shankar temple, and the next is the the Seeskan there is a Gurdwara, and there's a big Gurdwara, and next to that is a Methodist church, and there is a mosque. Which country and which street in the world will cohabit the four religious structures side by side? So that gives me confidence that this country will survive and will remain a great country because of its cultural plurality and respect for each and every religion.
Absolutely, absolutely, certainly. And you know, when you're talking about you visiting certain areas or seeing poverty or seeing on the other hand also cultural and religious harmony in terms of
Yes.
people celebrating each other's festivals and offering their prayers and services in different structures of religious worship. Do you also see that the narrative of politics is changing then? So on one hand, we've had a history where all these structures have coexisted by and large peacefully over many decades and centuries, I would say, on a broad time frame. And but recent events, I mean, are they really a speck in time, or do you see this as a stronger trend? What is your sort of personal feeling there?
Uh, See, I believe and I feel that my generation has been the luckiest in Indian civilization. You know why? Because we were born in the late 60s and early 70s, when the country was very poor. There was almost abysmal infrastructure, and I had lived in a house where there was no electricity, there was no private latrine, and there was no private bathroom. And I could tell you that I had seen those consumer items coming into my house, from a small radio to the cooker and everything. And then moving on, I had seen my mother cooking on a small chulha on the lakdi and dhukni. And today, when I see when I hold an iPhone or a Samsung iPad, and I could do whatever I feel like in no time. So leap from that small chulha to this iPhone has been civilization. This change has been civilization. This kind of and the change of such bigness had never happened in Indian history, may probably in the global history also. That's the one point which I want to make. Today, there are many people who feel frightened. I do. I also do feel frightened. But my own understanding is that India is at the threshold of some big leap, where the forces will try to pull you back. The conservative traditional forces, obscurantist forces will try to pull India back. But the forces for modernism, forces for pluralism, forces for liberalism, forces for the new era will try to pull it forward in the future. Probably it's that India is passing through that crisis. It is at that critical moment. And I think in this critical moment, the forces of the forces of obscurantism will finally will lose, and the forces of modernism will finally move forward, and this country in another 10 years will be a very different country. Probably that kind of a fight and the conflict is needed for the betterment of the Indian society and betterment of India as a country to claim the potentials being a superpower. So I am at one point I can say that I am frightened when I see these fascist forces on the rise. On the other hand, when I see the hope for the future, I feel very emboldened. And Delhi election especially has given me a lot of encouragement. And I can also tell you that Bihar will be a great indicator in that direction, that how the modernist forces are going to shape this country in future.
So certainly, I mean, as with any other democratic society, you will have forces and counter forces within every sliver of activity, whether it is religious, political, economic, so on and so forth. But when you were writing the book, and it was the story of 2014, now sitting here in 2015, seeing let's not get into whether a successful administration or not, but you've been running the Delhi government for some time now, and I mean, I don't want to go get into the debate of whether it's being run well or not run well. I think there's enough debate happening in the press, but where do you see yourself individually as a leader of Aam Aadmi Party
Yeah.
in this entire push and pull of these, let's say, negative or positive forces? Where do you see yourself juxtaposed between this?
See, frankly speaking, probably we could have done much better. And there have been several reasons for this. I don't want to get into that. One of the reasons is that how the central government is trying to interfere in the administration over there, but no excuse to be given. Our success lies in trying to create a different model of governance and administration. If you look at Aam Aadmi Party government at the Delhi, what we are focusing on and what has been neglected in the last 68 years, the most neglecting part has been the citizen of this country. And the citizen has been the most neglected. And that's why there has not been enough emphasis on the education and the health of the citizen. I can tell you that Aam Aadmi Party government's first budget, we has increased our education budget by 106%. We have increased our health budget by 45%. To create 1,000 neighbors, already mapped 960 government schools, because endeavor is to improve the quality of communities at par with the private schools. If we could do that, if we could empower, if we could make Delhi citizens better educated, better literate, better acquiring better health, probably that will be a different model altogether. Because unfortunately, this country has seen growth model where a logic has been given that if somebody can't pay for electricity or somebody can't pay for the water, right, to be a part of the development. And it is called as a subsidy economy, that the people blame that, call it a subsidy economy. But our logic is that growth has to be inclusive. Citizens have to be made better citizens, better educated, better. That's the model we are trying to evolve. That's why you will not see Delhi. It's not that we are neglecting that part, majorly focusing on infrastructure. Yes, infrastructure focus is there. But if we could create not the physical infrastructure, but if we could make citizen-specific infrastructure, if we could make better citizens, if we could make better educated citizens, better healthy citizens, that's where Aam Aadmi Party is going to make a lot of difference. And that's the model we are trying to evolve. So our success lies at the end of the 5 years, that or not.
And within all this, in terms of, like you mentioned, your own policies and ideology of the party, what is that one big area where you think you could have done better? Since taking charge of the Delhi government, what is that one big area which you think you could have fared better in?
See, as a political party, our the fundamental is fight against corruption, and that's what we promised to the people of Delhi, that we want to make Delhi corruption free. free city. We had certain 3 months coming to the power. Since 8th June onwards, the Anti-Corruption Bureau has been taken away from us and had been put under the Lieutenant Governor. That has been the biggest impediments, because now people in the government, people outside the government, they know that since Anti-Corruption Bureau is not with Aam Aadmi Party government, so they can't do anything. So even if we know that this gentleman is indulging into the corruption, we can't take an action because we don't have the policing powers. In the first 3 months, people are scared of doing corruption in Delhi because they knew Anti-Corruption Bureau can come and catch them and can put them behind the bars. That has been a great, I'll say, it has been a great disappointment, because we thought that in fight against corruption, the Modi government and the Arvind Kejriwal's government both should collaborate to root out corruption, because Modi during the 2014 election also promised to fight against corruption. But unfortunately, when we were fighting corruptions and we had history of lodging FIRs against Mukesh Ambani and Veerappa Moilis and Sheila Dikshit, and we are the only government probably in the country who has sacked his own cabinet minister when somebody came up with the evidences prima facie looked credible, and this did not come into any mainstream media, it was not raised by any opposition leader, but we could have easily brushed aside, kept it under the carpet, but we did not do that. We rather sacked him in a press conference and told him that this is not acceptable if zero tolerance is there. Probably we would have done much better on that, but we have serious handicap on that front.
So, Ashutosh, thank you for joining us on LitFestx. You've been candid and answered some good questions about not only your book but also your personal journey from being a journalist to a activist to a politician. And I'm sure it is a journey which was very exciting and adventurous, and it will continue to be an exciting and adventurous one, given all the forces and given the fight that you're fighting. And good luck with everything, and good luck with your book. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much, and let me also wish you great success for the Lit Fest, because you have started something which is very, very innovative, and I really liked it, and I hope that this becomes a trend in future. Thank you so much for being pioneer in this field.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh.
Thank you.